You lived in a mini home for 6 years. How big was it?
I wrote a book about that experience titled Put Your Life on a Diet, Lessons Learned in 140 Square Feet. So
Wow.
That's a generous estimate. Actually, 140 square feet includes the downstairs, which was 10 by 7, and an upstairs loft sleeping area you see pictured there. So I suppose you could say it was even 70 square feet. It was, back in 2003. So one of the prototypes, I was Jay Schaefer's first customer, and kind of catching the initial wave at the beginning of this movement. But it was quite an experience to live, off the grid, no running water, no electricity. Certainly, it's not a requirement for small living, but I wanted to see what the extreme challenges might be.
So when you see, your fellow guests here on HuffPost Live living with Wi-Fi in their small home, are you judging them?
I am. That's so extravagant. No, actually, I had Wi-Fi. That's one thing I couldn't live without. Even though I was off the grid, I was wirelessly connected.
And by the way, Gregory, you built your home with your own hands. So, when you do that, what satisfaction do you take in building your own? The only thing I built is like a Lego thing, and that falls apart, basically.
Before the show, we were all talking about how there's so many creative people involved in this small house movement, and they tend to have multiple talents, publishing, photography, the arts, music, many of them. And so it's a natural to have people creatively influencing what kind of home they're going to live in and really personalizing that for their own experience and needs. And it really is quite an experience to, build something from the ground up that is created out of your own imagination. It's hard to describe. Much different than living in any kind of a cookie cutter housing experience.
Well, Gregory, let me ask you a couple of questions. One of which is the one that I anticipated to come in, and this one you don't have to answer. This is from et cetera, who says, I prefer a mansion and a 70-inch flat screen, of which I have neither. I think fair enough. But let me go on to a couple more comments that have come through. Scott Geisler says, why not just live in an RV? At least you can move around.
That's a good question. There's been a tradition since the 50s and even before then of people living in RVs, campers, and being snowbirds, traveling seasonally. What the small house movement has kind of introduced into that trend is the ability to live in a very sturdy home that can be lived in year-round because it has an abundance of insulation, very high efficiency, tight building envelope. And so people are able to build and live in these very high quality homes that, were they to be 3,000 square feet, would be, not affordable. But because they are smaller, you can build in sustainability and a very economical way of living.